So I'm so excited to fucking be home. You guys, I've been gone for 3 weeks. I have been gone for 3 weeks. Now it doesn't seem like that long. I thought it'd be great because I thought it would be fine. Because I thought it was gonna be hot in Miami, but it was literally cold as fuck for the first 2 weeks. So like the last week I was there, it was hot, but like honestly, still fun. It was just cold as fuck the first couple weeks and it kind of threw me off. I was there for 3 weeks. I was in Miami for 3 weeks. The last week was pretty incredible. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it was quite the experience. It was quite the experience that I had. Right now I'm putting this KYDA SPF 35 mineral. It's a concealer. As you can see how opaque it is. It's a concealer. They say it's a sunscreen, but it really is a concealer. But the thing is you can apply it pretty thick and it doesn't get like, I mean, it does crease, but it's not like too opaque of a concealer. It is just, it's nice. It's thicker than a eye sunscreen, but it's like not as thick as like a super opaque concealer, but as you can see the difference, like that's kind of amazing. But I missed you guys. I missed filming. I didn't even bring my camera because I was like, I'm just gonna film on my phone, which I did film on my phone, but you know, that only films vertical. So much has changed. I feel like I am a completely different human. I was so fucking excited to come back here. Like, I did not like the Airbnb I stayed in. It was not comfortable. It didn't feel clean. Yeah, I wasn't a fan. I wanted to just sit down with you guys and just catch up because I'm just so thrilled to be home. So yeah, it's like I decided to go to Miami in February because the coldest month here and I figured it'd be warm there. But because of this bullshit called El Nino, it was literally warm as fuck here and it was cold as fuck there. Yeah, anyways, it's okay. It happened for a reason. You know what? So much happened that I can't even begin to explain. I'm so happy to have like a new outlook on life. I mean, genuinely, I feel like it's just a completely different person. So one thing that I got while I was there was this Simply Ageless Covergirl. It has like 0.3%, 0.5% bakuchiol, whatever. This is motherfucking amazing. And this is like a dupe for the Chanel, since everyone loves dupes. See, this is like color beads suspended in water, and I have always been obsessed with the Chanel Les Beige, whatever the fuck it's called, Le Beige Water Fresh tint, and this is a dupe, but I swear to goodness this is actually better. So right now I just have sunscreen on, and then I just put sunscreen, oopsie. I just put sunscreen under my eyes too, and I'm just gonna put a little bit of this on. This is what it looks like, and then you use a brush to apply and it breaks those color beads, and then the water absorbs and it's just like leaves you with this flawless complexion. So yes, so much changed, and it was really because of the fact that, like, I hope I'm not messing my mic up. It was really because of the fact of the weather. Like, the weather kind of threw me off because like I literally was just going for the weather. So when the weather was bad, and then my place was like not very comfortable. I was just kind of like in this place of like, what is happening? What is happening? It really caused a pretty significant transformation, which I can tell you that I feel so transformed. I will never be the same. It wasn't just the weather, okay? It was like the moment I landed in Miami, everything felt so chaotic. Like when I left here, I was in such good like spirits. I was in such good energy. Like I had been doing like amazing at work. Like my business is doing great. My just life is doing great. Like everything is doing great and going well, right? And so I leave and I go to Miami and I'm like, I'm so excited to be there and blah, blah, blah. And then I get there and like, I swear that the moment I entered into Miami airspace, something was off. Like something was so off. We enter genuinely into Miami airspace and it becomes so turbulent, and it was not turbulent the whole time. I didn't read into this at the time. I was just like, okay, whatever. And then we land and then we're stuck on the tarmac for no shit at least 30 minutes, and I have to pee so effing bad, and I'm like holding it, right? And then like, you know how when you land and then they're like, nobody can move because, you know, if you move and then we get the go ahead to move, then, you know, the whole plane will be delayed and it will be your fault. And so I'm like, all right, I can hold it, you know, not knowing we were going to be stuck for so long, right? And so I'm like waiting and waiting, and then I'm like, every 5 seconds, I'm like, should I go now? Should I go now? Should I go now? And I'm like, why is this happening? This is insane. And then, I was also starving. I was starving my ass off because my flight was at like noon. So like I had a breakfast, but then I landed at like 4, and then we didn't disembark until like 5. So it was literally all day before I had anything. I was starving. I had to pee. I had my child, and it was just like, I was immediately frustrated, right? And so then I'm like, I already know in my head what I'm going to DoorDash to my Airbnb. I already know that I wanted ceviche. I'm planning my DoorDash escapades, and like the ceviche place that I want to go to is closed. Like they closed since I was here last. I was like, all right, I gotta find another ceviche place. And then I ordered an Uber. Like barely any of the Ubers speak English there, and I kind of forgot about that. So I ordered this Uber, and then he's like coming and we're waiting for him, and then he's like on the way, and then he's getting close, and he calls me, and then he can't speak English and I can't speak Spanish, and so I have no idea what he's saying, but he's saying something, and then we hang up, and then all of a sudden it says he's 12 minutes away. And I'm like, what the fuck? What happened? And then so I like go ahead and cancel it. I mean, Miami airport is not hard to get an Uber, right? I got that Uber in 20 seconds. And so I go to get an Uber, and there's no Ubers all of a sudden. The closest Uber is like 16 minutes away. And I'm like, what happened? What is going on? So I like go to Lyft and go back to Uber, and it was like the same thing. It was like impossible to get an Uber, and then I'd get an Uber and it'd say they were like 5 minutes away, right? And then it would be like their time was just kept going up, and it was like it was impossible to get an Uber, and I couldn't get an Uber, and I was starving, and I had puffy, and like I was just like so frustrated at this point. I'm like, the fuck is happening? It was actually warm that day that I landed. I got an Uber finally, and I think I got home by like 6. So I got my ceviche, I had the plan. One of my favorite things to do in Miami is to walk. I just love walking. Like the morning vibes in Miami are like where it's at. It's so quiet. It's like hot and humid even in the morning, and like it's tropical and lush, and like there's so many good coffee places. So like one of the first things I want to do is go walk to my favorite hotel and get the coffee there, because the coffee is literally unbelievable. And I wake up the next day, and I'm not kidding you when I say I think it was colder in Miami than when I left Detroit. I didn't bring the clothing, right? I have cute clothing here. I have a cute winter clothes, just didn't bring any of them. So I'm like in the frumpiest fucking shit that I have. I'm like, let me just power through. I like take Puffy on a walk. I'm thinking we're gonna still walk to that hotel, which is like a mile away. Not only was it cold, but the wind was like whipping around. I guess like after like a few blocks, I was like, I have to be honest with myself. This is not it. And I have a therapy appointment at like early, like 9:30, and it was my first EMDR appointment. So I was so excited about this appointment. If you guys don't know, I like have been exploring EMDR therapy. I've loved EFT tapping. I just wanted to try something else. EMDR is a little bit the same philosophy as EFT, except EMDR is like very regulated. So I'm like, well, why not? Let me just try this. I'm like very uncomfortable. I'm like, this is weird, because you know when things just don't feel flowy? We course correct, and we wind up just going back to the Airbnb, and I meet with this therapist at 9:30. So she's like, you know, okay, we're gonna do this grounding exercise. So basically she's like, watch the ball. So we do it's called bilateral stimulation when you watch the ball. So I'm watching the ball go back and forth, and it's like this blue dot, and she's like telling me to think of this thing, right? And it's like a peaceful thing, and I start getting the worst fucking anxiety. Like I get anxiety like I got when I took like, I don't know, some drug or something, you know, some type of plant medicine. Like I started getting such bad fucking anxiety, like terror, was like watching the ball, and I was getting all this nausea and fear coming up. And so I was trying not to pay attention to it. So I was like, what is happening? This is so weird. Basically, it just like the whole time I had to fight that anxiety, and it was really odd. And then I'm like, okay, I don't know what that was about, but I don't think I'm doing EMDR again. So then I go to yoga. I have this yoga class scheduled, and it's fucking freezing. So I like waddle my ass there in the freezing cold. I am like, thank God I'm finally in a warm space, because this yoga studio like is so hot and humid in there. It's so amazing, and like it's surrounded by like palm trees, and like it's just like in the window. So when you're in the yoga space, like all you see is like tropical nature around you, and it's hot and humid. And I'm like, that's what I wanted. I wanted jungle vibes. So the moment I got into the yoga studio, I was like, yay, I've arrived. Finally, I felt so peaceful. I felt so great. And then like 20 minutes into yoga, I started like having an issue catching my breath, which is like how I typically show signs of like panic attacks. That's sometimes what triggers a panic attack for me. If I can't catch my breath, I start to whatever. But I've had panic attacks for so long, and honey, I have them under control. I have my panic attacks under control, and I will tell you how. Basically, every time you feel a panic attack coming on, I basically just say, oh, it's just a rush of adrenaline. And it genuinely is. It's like if you let it just be a rush of adrenaline, it kind of waves in and out. It'll just come back down. But if you look at the wave, and then that's what triggers the panic attack, that's what happened to me in the past. Like, you know, you go into a panic attack. But for me, I've been able to control my panic attacks for probably since like 2018, 2019. This is the first time that like I couldn't. So I leave class, and I'm just like, it's not abnormal to leave class. I'm just like, let me leave class and like, you know, catch my breath. And I get out of the class, and the moment I get out of the class, the girl at the front desk is like, are you okay? And I was like, why? Do I look not like okay? So I go to the bathroom, and I start crying. I'm crying. I can't catch my breath. And like, I'm like, what the fuck fuck is happening right now? This is not normal, right? Like, what the fuck is happening? I'm probably in the bathroom for 10 minutes and I catch my breath and I'm just like, this is so strange. Like, what is literally happening? And I leave the bathroom and then like I'm talking to the girl at the front desk for a hot second and the teacher comes out and he's like, do you want your mat? And I was like, I don't know. I thought I was gonna go back into class, but then I was kind of scared. Like, and then so you know what he did, which I kind of loved? He just like goes and gets my mat and brings it back to me. And I'm like, yeah, I think I do need to leave. I went home and just took a Xanax. That was kind of how my whole trip started. And it was not pleasant. And it kind of continued on like that. I'm not gonna lie. It actually continued on like that. I mean, there were good moments. There were moments that were more aligned, more like comfortable, more like what, you know, I wanted. Like, it's like it would get sunny in the afternoons, right? The temp would say 70, but it was like, it was hot from the sun, but the air was cold. And in Miami, what I like about Miami is the air is normally hot and humid. It's like, actually the air is the thing that makes it fucking amazing. The air, because, you know, I love walking puffy. And so we'll go like 7 in the morning. And you know, other places like the desert, right? You go to Vegas and it's like, oh, it's cold at night and in the morning, but during the day it's hot. But in Miami, it's not like that. I personally just love the humidity. I love the heat, the humidity. So in the afternoons, it would get hot. I would leave my house in like a jacket and like long pants. As I was walking, the sun would be shining on me and I'd get hot in a weird way. It's like hot from the sun was like piercing hot. I didn't care because I was like, bake me, bitch. I'd rather be sweating my ass off than feeling cold at all while I'm here, you know? Anyways, that's how the temperature was for definitely the first week and the second week. I mean, there were breaks in between. After a few days, I'm examining, obviously, what the fuck is going on here? Because I'm still of the mindset at that point, like, what am I doing to create this, right? And not only that, but I did believe in like things happening for you. Sometimes things happen out of your control and they're used for your benefit or your growth, whatever. So I'm thinking all these things. I'm thinking, why is this happening? Like, what did I do to contribute to this? So I like sit down and I think about it and I'm like, honestly, I feel like I don't feel great spending money on this trip when I'm spending thousands of dollars to be here and now it's cold. That makes me feel like I wasted my money. That makes me feel like I didn't get what I paid for. And so that was bringing up a lot of fear and anxiety around money and like, oh, you're so irresponsible and, you know, blah, 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 blah. I really went into that. I used that as a starting point and I kind of went into that and I was like, all right, let's look at this. What in you doesn't feel worthy of this experience, even if it's cold? What in you doesn't feel worthy of this experience at all? Like, you know, part of me was like, you don't deserve to be a snowbird. You're not at the point in your career where you can just be a snowbird. So like there were some things like that coming up and I chose to look at the concept of worthiness specifically around money for me. That's what I was thinking, like about like worthiness about your needs and like what needs am I allowed to meet, et cetera, et cetera. So I actually did some pretty good work around that. I had this like kind of vibe around money or being able to meet my needs. I'm allowed to get my life or death needs met, but I'm not allowed to get my higher needs met. And I know as women, we have this a lot, like a lot of women have this, I know, because you guys tell me, I hear in the ether, it's not my survival needs, then I'm not worthy about it. I'm not worthy of it. And I kind of like debunked that. I went through I did EFT tapping and my process for that, and I debunked that in my head. That was just the beginning. That was just like the first 3 days. And so a lot happened after that. A lot. That caused me to question everything. It actually caused me to question everything. And that was like the best thing for me. Well, I didn't plan on sitting here and telling the whole story, to be honest, but I did just want to like catch up with you guys a little bit. So this could be like a part 1. But ultimately, it did cause me to question everything and it caused me to question my whole reality. And it was very beneficial. The end. Like, how pretty is this? This is literally crazy how good this is. I think this was $20. I got it in number 20, which is light, and it's like the perfect color. The reason why I like this better actually than the Chanel is number 1, I feel like it dries more matte, and I feel like it blurs the skin texture a little bit more, and also the color selection is way better. I always went between medium light, but light was way too light. Light was like white, but medium light was almost a little too dark for my natural skin tone. So this is kind of like the perfect match, and I feel like this actually has a little bit more coverage. That's not something I was going for. Like, I like the coverage of this one. It's like light coverage, right? But this is like light plus less coverage, just like slightly more. So that's just one of the differences. So anyways, then I was there and every single day I was like, I kind of want to go home. I want to go home. I want to go home. And then I was like, I'm not going to get my money back. I'm basically wasting this money if I just leave. But it's like, well, if it's the right thing to do for me to leave, then I will leave, and I will just say I lost the money, and that is what it is. By the way, I got a new Ruby Woo. I'm so excited. It's been a while since I've had my Ruby Woo pencil. Let's swatch this. Ooh, bitch. That is a cool toned red. That is a cool toned red. Let's swatch it next to the Kat Von D, because the Kat Von D was also very cool toned. I thought the Kat Von D was a good dupe, which is why I got it. So I want to swatch them. Oh my God. Holy cannoli. I mean, the Kat Von D, I still like, always gonna, I think, prefer the Ruby Woo, just because I think it's the best one. But okay, this is them side by side. The Kat Von D is the one that's a little bit darker, and the Ruby Woo is the one that's a little bit brighter. In person, the one on the right, the Ruby Woo looks way more blue. You can tell it's way more blue. It almost looks pink next to the Kat Von D one. The Kat Von D one is just so vibrant. Now that I'm swatching them next to each other, but I'm obviously not doing red lips right now. It's 9 a.m. I filmed the worthiness thing so I could create a training for you guys on EFT tapping. I think I still plan on selling that. It's just my whole worldview has shifted in such like a dramatic way that I just want to make sure it's completely aligned with what I want to do and what I believe in and what I want to sell. So my days carried on like that. Like my place was uncomfortable. The weather was uncomfortable, but I didn't feel called to leave. It's like I gave myself the permission, if you think it's right to leave, you can leave. It's fine. We're just going to chalk this up to a loss. But I was like, no, something is holding me here. Like something is literally holding me here. I was like, I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to go back to Michigan. And like there were practical reasons why. Like I had a friend coming in town. I had many friends that I wanted to see there. I knew that it was going to get warmer at some point. So I was like, maybe I could just chalk it up to that. Anyways, something was holding me there. I stayed. And it was very turbulent. I'm not gonna lie, it was very turbulent for, I would say, almost the whole time. It was quite turbulent. But then I dropped into this the most peaceful peace that I feel like I have known in a very fucking long time. I'm not gonna talk about exactly what triggered that, but I will say something triggered it, and it just brought me down to a space of like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, I'm not even valuing what's important in life. Just the small things. I kind of somehow was in this space of like ego, this space of always feeling like I needed more and more and more. I need more, I need more, I need more. And like, it fuels like a constant disappointment, this vibe of constant disappointment when you are like in that vibe of ego. Because ego, sometimes it sounds like it's good. Sometimes it's like, oh, they're in their ego or they're ego driven, and it's kind of like feeling good about themselves. But that is not the only thing ego means, because ego also means that if you are in your ego, you experience all aspects of the ego. And one aspect of the ego is fear. Like that's where a lot of our fear comes from. If you're in your ego, sure, you may be acquiring worldly possessions. Worldly possessions do not automatically equal ego. But if you're in your ego aspiring to those things, that is very possible. But you will also experience the other side of that coin. I suddenly snapped out of my ego and was like, I don't even really want the things I don't really care about the things I'm pursuing. I want to live a different life. Like I want to live a life that's like less ego driven, like less like always needing to change or always needing to achieve the next thing. And I just dropped out of that, and I was like, I'm so appreciative that I have what I have. Like the little things that like it's easy to take for granted. I don't know. I just dropped out of this. Like I started to see everything differently. And it was more like, I felt like it was more of like a childlike view. Their reality is so pixelized. Like everything around them is stimulating. Everything around them is like, ooh, I'm so excited. And they don't have like this existential fear or dread. If I don't achieve this, then I'm not this. Like, it's like I just saw things differently. It was like the beginning of the end for me. The beginning of the end for me in a positive way. I mean, I'm just like, that set off a chain of events for me that will never be forgotten or be able to be undone. That chain of events, the peace that I've acquired, I don't ever foresee myself going back to the previous version of who I was. Like going back to, now that I see it, I don't think I could ever not see it. Now that I see like that it's ego, I don't see myself going back to that paradigm. Not that I don't want those things. Like not that I don't want those things. Not that I don't want to, succeed and do good things, but it's like, I'm just so dropped into where I am in the moment. I'm so dropped into my present reality. I'm so like excited about life. Like I'm just grateful. I walk through my day and I feel gratitude. It's like, I don't know what shifted, but something shifted. I do know what shifted. What shifted was like a thing that brought me down to earth. And it was like, oh my God, I could lose everything. You know, if this thing were true, I could lose everything and nothing else would matter. And it just brought me back down to gratitude for what I have. Am I making sense? So I'm honestly like beyond stunned at the things that I've realized. The things that I've realized, which I want to make a whole separate video about, but like they're things that I have thought were true for a while. Like they're worldviews that I have subscribed to since I was like in my early to mid 20s. They're patterns of behavior that I have been following since I was around, since that time frame too. So then like the weather started getting better and my mindset started shifting and I was having all these like realizations and the weather was getting better and I was just like, ooh, this is amazing. But I was just so excited to come home. I was so excited to come home because I fucking love it here. I just love it here. I love my house. I want to like, there's so many things I still need to do to my house. This is like phase 2 of organization. Like my closets need to get organized. Like I need to finish my spare bedroom and I want to work on all that. And then it's about to be spring and I'll be able to work on my yard, which is something that I've wanted to do. And like, I don't know, I'm just like appreciating the simple things in life. Like I just felt like I wanted to be more humble. I wanted to live like more humbly. I mean, I already do, like I already do. Okay. Like I already have for a long time now have lived under my means. Like I just want to like be happy with what I have, even if it were to never change. Do you know what I mean? Like I want to, of course, aspire. I want to grow. I want to create. I want to blah, blah, blah. But I just want to be happy with what I have, even if it were to never change, if that makes sense. I think I used to feel like I needed those things with some type of urgency. And now I just don't feel a sense of urgency. I feel like kind of more just living in the present moment. I think that's what I'm trying to say. I think what I'm trying to say is like, I have dropped into the present moment without attachment to like what's happening next. One of the first words or one of the first things I was saying to try to explain this vibe is like dropping into the sovereignty of God. But I don't even know if I believe that anymore. But that was the first shift that I had, you know, while I was there, like mentally. Like I used to be of the thought like, okay, you're in control. Everything is a reflection of you. And you have like co-creators, right? The angels, the guides, the universe, and God, whatever. And like you co-create with them, but ultimately you are in control. It's like radical responsibility. Like look at your life. What don't you like? It's a reflection of you. You need to change it. But then that was very ego driven for me. I didn't find it useful ultimately. That's what shifted me. Something shifted me into more like the sovereignty of God, which actually gave me so much peace. I used to think like being in control would give me peace. Like being in control was a more useful worldview. And not that it's not, but in the way that I was doing it before, being in control, like everything is a reflection of you, is a toxic way to look at things, which I will talk about in another video. Now it's the paradigm of like the sovereignty of God was the next shift, which was like, not that I don't have any control, but that was like, sweet, God is giving me the things that I have in my life right now. And I'm going to have other things in my life because God has a plan for my life. And I can just kind of like chill and I can just relax and I can just trust and I can just, you know, do my work, appreciate where I am without this attachment to thinking that I am creating this. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that was like toxic for me to think that I am creating this. Because when you think I am creating this, you're like, well, I don't like this and I don't like that and I don't like that. So like, what the fuck am I doing that is creating those things? I'm not saying that that can't work. It creates like not a very like healthy mindset, not as healthy of a mindset as you could possibly have, because it creates this consistent focus on like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? What am I thinking that's wrong? What am I thinking that needs to be extracted so my reality can change? And this is not the vibe to be in. So when I shifted to a more sovereign God worldview, then I just was at peace all of a sudden. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm so grateful for what I have. Like, I'm just like so fucking grateful for the gifts I've been given that I have taken for granted. It's like when you're in that previous worldview of thinking that you're in control and everything's a reflection of you, like you are more so not looking at the things you're grateful for. You're more looking at the things, you're more oriented towards the things that like, what is wrong and why is it wrong? Versus like, I am so grateful I have what I have and I know everything I want is coming to me. So that was like the second shift. And the third shift is like more radical. Like, what if there is no God? What if there is no God? Like, what if there's not? So that's another shift that I don't even want to talk about right now, but ultimately it just brought me so much peace, like to drop into like the sovereignty of God and drop into like just the idea of living in the motherfucking present moment, like living in the present moment, like slowing down. That caused me to slow down, and slowing down has been like dramatically different for me, because another thing ego will get you to do is it'll get you to compare. So like you are looking at yourself and you're like, oh my God, other people who are around my age or younger or older, whatever, or other people around me that I see out there, they seem to be doing better than me. They seem to be, you know, acquiring the things that I'm trying to get, and they seem to be living the life that I want to live. But I'm not living that life, so that means something must be wrong with me. I must be doing something wrong. And then I realized that is not actually the case. And this whole concept of even becoming a vibrational match to a thing, I don't even buy it. I don't even buy it, because now I believe you can be a vibrational match to a thing and still not have the thing. And like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with being a vibrational match to the thing I want and not having it. Like, I don't have to necessarily always be self-focused, being like, okay, I need to figure out now what do I need to uncover? Now what do I need to learn? Now what realization do I need? Now what's in my subconscious that I need to dig up so I can get to the next level? It's like, honestly, if there were a devil, that would be a devilish occupation, because it's so fucking stupid. You're just robbing yourself. You're literally robbing yourself. Yes, do the inner work. Yes, work on your mental health. Yes, work on your vibration, but it's like to a point. Like to a point. You know, you should really be living in the moment for the most part. And the reason I was never able to do that, I had to go through so many layers of the brain in order to get to this state. So like, I think that healing the self-development that I've done to this point, I think it's been useful. I don't think it was in vain at all. I think that it was useful, but I do think that I am living now in this new paradigm that I've kind of told you I've evolved into, and I'm discovering what is the balance of doing your inner work versus living in the moment, because you need both. You absolutely fucking need both. That's what I want to talk about right now, because it's like, yeah, there's more to say, but the thing is I don't want to say the things because I'm not exactly sure how I feel completely about the things. You know, like the worldviews I'm exploring right now, it's like the worldviews I've just shared with you, I already know. I already moved through those. I already experienced them. But the current worldview I'm in is like, I'm now just experiencing it and living it and seeing, what does this look like from all angles? What does this feel like from every angle? What does this mean for my life? Like, how do I exist here? Is this beneficial? Is this true? Is this whatever the fuck? How does this feel? That's like partially why I don't want to fully go into it too, but that's the concept I'm toying with. I'm toying with the concept of like, I'm living in the moment. I love it. It feels so good. I mean, it's literally why the fuck I'm sitting down and filming it. I never do this. You know, like after the gym, I came home and now I showered and I'm going to get ready for the day and then go work. And I'm just like, it's not something I normally would do, but I just feel so in the moment. It's so great. It's been so great. When the fuck did this even happen? It must have been last Tuesday or Wednesday that I dropped into this. And then from there, like my whole worldview unraveled. Like I just never in a million years thought it would be beneficial to believe in a sovereign God. And then one step further, I never thought it'd be beneficial to believe in. Yeah, that's what I wanted to chat about today. As I feel into this, I will definitely share more, but I don't know. I just like, I love the concept of like, I know it sounds weird, but like a smaller, quieter life. Like I feel like I have been aspiring to something that I just didn't even know if even really think I don't even know if I really wanted. It's been ego, and once you drop the ego, then it's important to figure out how to integrate the ego, because the ego is also important to us. So that's it. I'm gonna go blow dry my hair. I will see you in the next one. Bye.